Welcome back to Capitol Review. I'm Mark Hall in for Tasmin Mahfouz this week. The Virginia General Assembly gavelled in, making the start of the annual 60-day sprint to pass laws in the Commonwealth after November's elections. Well, Democrats hold narrow margins in both the House of Delegates and the state Senate, but as Republican Governor Youngkin has a final say on legislation passed, the session is sure to have no shortages of controversies. Well, our Northern Virginia reporter Max Marcilla joins us now to break down the start of this the lawmaking rush and what's next. And Max, let's start with one of the biggest and most expensive things that lawmakers are certainly dealing with, and that's the plan to build an arena and entertainment district in Alexandria, which would bring the NBA's Wizards and NHL's Capitals to Virginia. Right. What's the mood around the Capitol with that little plan?
Oh, it's not little, Mark. I know you were saying that it is a big plan, both in terms of scope and in terms of dollars. What's the mood? Well, Mark, the governor is really pushing for it and using his clout in as the governor to have people like a Delray restaurant owner at the State of the Commonwealth basically saying, look at all the business opportunities if we build this arena. But remember, it's a $2 billion project, and about $1.5 billion of that money will be paid for by a new stadium authority. We don't really know what that authority will look like. What we do know is that at least some of the money will come from bonds issued by that authority. Some Democratic lawmakers say they're not so sure about that plan, hinting at their, uneasiness that even though it's new tax money, it is still tax money that should go to other priorities instead of an arena. So there's a bit of a divide there, but the governor is trying to bring people of both parties together and say, look at this economic opportunity, but a long way to go. And a lot of details still we need to know before a decision is made.
And Max, of course, one of the governor's really early priorities is getting rid of the car tax, but several Democrats are coming out against it. What are the arguments on both sides?
Well, no one's arguing that the car tax is, a fan favorite. Nobody likes the car tax. Nobody likes paying for, hundreds of dollars for the car, especially considering the amount of that, the dollar amount in that tax has gone up. But Democrats, including Majority Leader Scott Servos from Fairfax County, they've pushed back and essentially said, look, this is an idea, but there's no fallback plan, because think about it. The Democrats say you get rid of one stream of revenue, you need to replace it with something else. Servos said there's about $3,500 per student in Fairfax County that comes from the car tax, and he's not sure where that money will come from. The governor has said it could come from something like raising local sales tax. That could be a way to get the revenue back, but Servos said in a press conference earlier this week that the car tax elimination is dead on arrival. So a long road, if there is one available, and of course, Mark, it would need a constitutional amendment. It's not just a simple law passed.
Well, as you know, the Democrats have introduced a large number of bills that will likely not get the governor's support, but it shows that their commitment to at least their priorities. What are some of those issues that Democrats are pushing right now?
Sure, and there's a number of them. Some of them we've discussed in the past because they pre-filed them, things like an assault weapons ban, a potential constitutional amendment to enshrine abortion rights in the Virginia Constitution. There's some other gun laws in there, a 3-day waiting period for gun purchases. We're seeing other laws proposed by Democrats, think minimum wage increases. So there's a lot of priorities there. But what's interesting, and we saw it even in the history being made, as you alluded to, Mark, there's a black speaker for the first time in the history of the Virginia legislature, Don Scott, and he said in his speech after becoming speaker that this needs to be a session of common ground, reaching common ground. And he said it's possible, considering last year with a Democrat Senate and a Republican governor and House, that they needed to find some areas of compromise. He said they're going to need to do it again, but Mark, it's definitely going to be more challenging on some of these issues than others.
Max, a lot to keep an eye out on, right?
Sure, absolutely, always is.
All right, Max, thank you very much.